Oh, here we are. Look, what's up, Joe? You're here, buddy. Look who's here.
Time, unlike us.
Look who's here. Look. See this right there? See
You
that?
point on your camera and do it like that.
I know, but it's better that it look funnier if I went over to your camera like that. like a penis just peering in. What's up, Joe? How is the King of Canada telling the world that Canada belongs to the Indians? Feather, not dot. Not on the agenda tonight.
If we're lucky, Trump will
can be.
annex.
Yeah, it can be on the agenda. Whatever, man. It just isn't on the agenda. Welcome, everybody. Anybody, whoever might be here. Joe, of course. I'm sure Robert will be trailing in. Sorry about last week. I just didn't want to do it. So, sorry. I don't know. I'm not beholden to anybody other than you guys. Now I guess I'm beholden to this prick. And he's back. So, it'd be less boring for me now here. Not that you guys were making it boring, but, Hey, so if you are watching and you like the podcast, you should hit the subscribe. That's a good thing to do. If you like the channel. If you don't like the channel, well, you can fuck off. It's fine. We won't be hurt. But Tyler's back, so Tyler's here to talk. He's going to talk and if you like Tyler, then you should subscribe. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
That wasn't in the contract that I signed.
The contract, it's being doctored up right now as we speak. We got a couple things to talk about tonight, and then we're just gonna kind of riff because Tyler's back, and we're gonna riff, kind of like our poolside live broadcast on Saturday night, but which I didn't realize is private.
Oh, you made it private.
Well, I didn't at first.
Immediately.
I might have. I don't know.
You would have had to, otherwise it would have been.
I was drunk.
Would have been normal.
I don't know. I was lucky that it got out there.
So you just weren't talking to your.
Yeah, just talking to myself.
To the camera app, not even recording.
But yeah, no, we're gonna talk about the Colorado Flamer. Prick.
We should do more of that throughout the summer.
Oh yeah, we will.
Not like when it's dark and we're hammered, but maybe when we're just starting and it's bright out.
We'll figure it out. Maybe we'll even get a couple cameras outside or something. So then I don't have to carry around a stupid phone or whatever. But so we're gonna talk about that Colorado Flamer and just whatever, shoot the shit about that. Also, we're gonna talk about Trump threatening to tariff Apple and Mattel. He just loves tariffs. He can't.
I like it.
Well, hey, I guess. I mean, he's trying to get them to stop doing all their shit over in China. Sort of.
Working.
Sort of. We're going to talk about that. Also, we're going to talk about Bill Gates pledging to give all of his money away to the Africans. I guess, giving $1 a day to feed an African wasn't enough. I wonder what $200 billion would do. I don't know. We'll see. I call bullshit on this, but he's saying
it's not going to Africa. It's going to the new Epstein people that are feeding him his kids.
Most likely. If you like the podcast, like I said, hit the subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber. If you miss any part of the podcast and you want to check it out without watching the whole thing again because you're lazy and whatever, you can catch pieces of it from Tuesday to Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll pop whatever I deem necessary or worthy to put out there, and then you can obviously like, share, and comment on that. Get in the comments. We're here, so you can talk to us, and we will talk to you, as Joe will attest. What are you saying, Gurr? Which Africans? Because I could either support this move or not. Maybe it'll go to Robert, our buddy Robert, in Zamibia. So, yeah, I think it's the Africans that. I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna say something. Then I checked myself. That's growth. That was a good thing. I don't want to get the channel axed.
Probably is already.
Most likely, but cool. Whatever. Anyways, all right. So let's get on to the first thing. This podcast, we're gonna shoot a lot of shit. We're not really gonna talk too much about these
talk about
these topics.
What our plans moving forward.
Yeah, we got some plans.
Might be.
Well, howdy there, Robert. There you are, buddy. Sorry about last week, buddy. I was just lazy. Okay, let's get into the first thing here. Pop the browser up. Whoa, the heck? Oh man, I lost my.
Usually you can recover.
Yeah,
There's a recover button.
Yeah. Where's the recover? I don't want to see what's new. Where is that?
Click in on the top right.
Top right up here.
Yeah.
Mm.
If it exists, it'll be there. I mean, you got your history. Obviously, you could just go in.
Whatever. I know what I'm searching here. What is it? Colorado attack. There we go. Okay. This was the article I was gonna pop up. The Guardian. I like reading dog shit from the Guardian.
You gotta put it up on the screen.
Yeah. All right. Let's. Okay.
There it is.
All right. Let's get into this. Okay. So there was an attack. There was an attack in Colorado. Some D-bag decided it'd be a good idea to throw Molotov cocktails at a bunch of supporters of, not even Israeli supporters, they're supporters of releasing of the hostages, of the Israeli hostages. So I don't know how anybody can be against that, but apparently this douchebag can. Let me read this article here, and then Tyler and I are going to talk about this. This is from The Guardian, so don't expect much. They're kind of a dog shit outlet, but let's see what they have to say. So, suspect charged with federal hate crime and attack in Colorado rally for Israeli hostages. Look, check the name out. I'm not going to say much more about this. Mohammed Sabri Suleiman. Yeah.
Very British name.
Oh, yeah. Completely old English name, that one is. A man has been charged with federal hate crime and multiple other felonies after he allegedly used a makeshift flamethrower. I don't know why I laughed at that. Why am I laughing at that? That's horrible. Makeshift flamethrower and incendiary devices to attack a crowd of people who were raising awareness for Israeli hostages in Gaza, injuring 12 victims. And here's when they say injuring 12 victims, that's a fucking gross injury. Like, you're getting burned, man. This is not like you got cut or stabbed or something. It'll fucking burn. Mohammed Sabri Suleiman, 45, is alleged to have shouted "Free Palestine" as he attacked the crowd on Sunday. Of course, I wonder. He said blah, blah, blah. He had planned this attack. Solomon was booked into Boulder County Jail on Sunday and had a hearing scheduled for 1:30, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Said he could face 600 years cumulative, which is good. Let me just kill him. That's probably easier. Or unalive him. Sorry. Unalive him. You're supposed to say that. At the press conference, U.S. Attorney for the District of Colorado said in a statement that Solomon had resorted to Molotov cocktails when he wasn't able to obtain a gun. I should say a pew-pew. I'm using all the wrong words. There were 16 unused Molotov cocktails recovered at the scene. Oh, check this out. Watch. Officials said there was no indication that the attack was associated with any group. NBC reported Solomon was an Egyptian national, and the White House claimed Solomon was in the U.S. without legal status. Oh, go figure. Weird. That's not a problem that we've had in the last little while, that people are just coming into the country illegally. No, he should have some kind of, I mean, they should give him status at least before they convict him. Anyways, okay. Well, that's about all I'm going to read of that. Pretty shitty shit over here. Some stupid prick decides he wants to attack a bunch of people that are peacefully assembling. I don't know. They're not even really protesting. They're just like kind of half protesting. And this guy comes in and throws fire at him. It's kind of rude.
Yeah, I saw a post on X earlier. Someone was saying the left is now resorting to the burning Jews part.
That's fun. Oh my God.
It's only a matter of time.
What are you saying there, Joe? I'm shocked, but what border did he cross? Yeah. Well,
He probably just flew in.
Yeah. They probably just let him in. Well, he's probably been in the country longer than Trump's been in power right now. So, yeah. Oh, you burned yourself? That's not good. Yeah. Anyways, so rough stuff. I don't know. This kind of shit. This pisses me off mostly because obviously this guy's illegal, and I don't know. I don't know how many illegals with weird agendas they're going to let into the countries. I say countries because obviously we represent Canada up here, and we're way worse. Per capita, we're letting a lot more people in, so we apologize to our American friends to the south because they can just cross this big fake land border that we have and go into yours. So, yeah, tough stuff. No jokes here, I guess. It's not fun when people get burned. All right. What are you saying here, guys? You're just talking about weather and shit. He got lost on the way to a kebab shop. Yeah, probably. He's like, oh, fuck, there's something going on with Israeli shit. Huh. Like, good thing I packed these Molotov cocktails.
You never leave the house without a
No, come on, man. You're not going to leave without some of those. Maybe a grenade, some kind of pew-pew. All right. Okay, let's get on the next thing. We're just going to blast through. I got to find my... I was looking up some other shit over here. Trump. I lost my shit today.
You gotta be more specific than Trump because
yeah, true. Hold on.
There's a lot about Trump.
Where did I find it? It might be CNN. I like to look at the dog shit stuff.
Somehow you made your search even broader.
No, but I think it's right up in the front. Yeah, right here. So I know what I'm doing. All right. Okay, let's populate this next one here. So Trump's threatening to impose more tariffs again on 2 American companies this time. I love it. He's not giving up on these tariffs. He's a dog with a bone, man. He loves this. I'm going to read this dog shit article here from CNN. And of course, they love all they can think about is Trump, so they love talking about Trump. So let's see what they have to say. Trump is threatening to impose tariffs on 2 American companies. President Donald Trump is using his love of tariffs to threaten high-profile American companies. Over the past month, Trump has said he'd like to target 2 specific and very different companies, Apple and Mattel, with tariffs aimed at their key products over comments by their CEOs. Oh, so it sounds a little bit retaliatory, but yeah, whatever. That's fun. I like that. Just if they piss you off, tariff them. Company-specific tariff threats will likely face legal problems, especially after a decision late Wednesday by the U.S. Court of International Trade questioned the president's authority to unilaterally impose tariffs without action by Congress, a decision that was put on hold by a Court of Appeals decision on Thursday. The courts just love going against them on everything. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's Trump, they're just going to go against him. But Trump does have levers to pull, and it's clear he sees the threat of tariffs as a way to get companies to comply with his demands. Even without this week's court decision, Trump would have had problems putting in place tariffs that target a specific company. He doesn't have the constitutional power to name names. It has to be a whole class of products equally against everyone in industry, she said. Okay, whatever. Shut up. Earlier this year, Trump was praising...
Thing to say.
I know. It's like, come on.
Like, no, because Apple isn't like, there's no difference between Apple and, some fucking mom and pop tech company.
Yeah. Yeah, just put them all together. We're going to tariff everyone now. Yeah. It's silly. Earlier this year, Trump was praising Apple CEO Tim Cook when the company announced plans for $500 billion in U.S. investments. But when Cook later announced he intends to shift production of iPhones bound for the U.S. market from China to India, he clearly angered Trump, who was promised, without much evidence, that his tariffs would lead companies to bring production to U.S. plants from overseas factories. So I agree with that, though. If you make a promise, you're a U.S. company, and you make a promise that you're going to bring manufacturing back to the U.S., you ought to bring manufacturing back to the U.S.
Yeah. And
if you don't, well, fuck you. Then we're going to tariff the shit out of you then. Which sucks, though, because I'm an iPhone user, obviously, and pretty much everybody on the planet uses an iPhone. So we will end up having to pay the brunt of it. But I'm okay with paying a little bit more.
Well, I don't know. It's like, do you support having slaves make things for you?
Yeah, true.
Right? Like, and even then, if you want to say, yeah, fuck the Chinese, like, yeah, they can do our dirty work. Well, that has repercussions down the road for our economies here because now nothing's happening here, right?
Yeah.
Which is like the whole point of the tariffs, which I agree with completely. At the very least, I think tariffs should be in place to make it so that to manufacture anything outside of the country is more expensive than doing it within the country. unless the demand for that thing exceeds the capacity of the country to do. We don't have enough people, we don't have a big
Yeah.
enough workforce or whatever, then you figure out a way to make it happen. Otherwise, if it can happen, then it should happen. And if you choose not to, well, it should be more expensive for you to do it because you're selling out your own country and your own citizens.
Yeah, that makes sense. Although little sad hands make good phones. It's probably the tears. I think if you get the tears in there. Yeah, no, it's obviously targeted tariffs make sense. So anybody who doesn't think so.
What's Trump at now? Like, has he broken $1 trillion in companies promising to either bring back or just straight up they never had manufacturing in the U.S. but now they're bringing it into the U.S. Like I think Nvidia said they were going to do like all of their manufacturing or like 200 million worth of investment in infrastructure in the U.S.
Well, here's the problem though, that they say, oh well, all these tariffs, they're going to immediately hurt you, so they scare people that way. But then what they don't realize is obviously this takes time. If a company commits to spend $500 billion in the U.S., it's not overnight. They have to set up the manufacturing. They have to set up, so it's going to be a couple of years at the very least before that starts to take fruition. But
you just put guidelines in place, right? So say Nvidia is like, okay, we're going to build $100 million worth of facilities in a couple places in the United States. So then there's a deal specifically made with Nvidia because I mean that's a big company, that's a big thing. So Trump goes to the table with. I need to put my mic closer. Apparently.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're probably.
Trump needs to go to the table with the Nvidia CEO and make a deal and be like, all right, what's your timeline? And then you just say, I think we can have it up and running in 5 years. Okay, here's our tariff plan. Every however long, every 14 months or whatever, we're gonna see if we're on schedule or not. If you're on schedule, nothing gets implemented until the 5 years is up. You're behind schedule, then there's going to start to be a little bit of something coming up.
Sure, yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Add a little tariff on there. There's your kick in the ass to actually do, so you don't drag your feet through the whole process. But
holy shit, I think Tyler might be a little smarter than some of the people in power. Crazy.
I could run a country, I think.
A small one. I don't know. I want to say things. You're making me want to say things. It's funny. Your head looks so huge right now because you're leaning into the camera. Yeah. Anyways, okay. Let me get back to this article. If fuck it, I'm not gonna get back to this article. Anyways, he's gonna put some tariffs on these guys. I think it's good. I don't see a problem with it. So
I don't think. I was looking at Joe's comment there. I don't think that's a loophole in any sense of a loophole.
The tax code, they need to fix the tax code so rich people who borrow against their stocks have to pay taxes on it, but you can't tax
You're
debt.
taking out debt that you have to pay back. If you don't have the money to pay the debt, then you're paying interest on the debt, and the debt is against your assets, and if you have to sell your assets to pay down the debt, you have to pay taxes on the sale of the assets before it goes to paying down the debt. It's not a loophole against taxes.
Yeah. Well, it is a loophole, but it's a legal loophole. It's like it's not something that's outside of it. Like outside of.
You never have money that you don't have to pay taxes on in doing so. It just gives you like liquidity on maybe non-liquid assets. Like think of it like a mortgage on a house. You might take a second mortgage or a line of credit out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to pay taxes on that. But if you had to sell the house to pay back the line of credit that you've been using, well, then you have to pay taxes.
Yeah.
Right. Anytime, as soon as your money gets involved, or you're paying that debt back with the money that you earned from working, which you pay taxes on, or got from capital gains elsewhere, which you pay taxes on.
Yeah.
Right?
There's not a lot of ways, not a lot of really good ways around paying personal income taxes. Like you can, there's a number of things you can do to minimize them, but you
just not do it.
Yeah. Or you can just not do it. Yeah, I guess. But
apparently if you never start, you have an easier time getting away with it.
Wow. That's hilarious.
They don't have a, so if you're paying taxes for a while and then you just stop paying taxes, at a certain point, they're going to look into it and be like, what's going on here? Yeah. Because even if you have no income, you're supposed to do something. But
shit. So you heard it here. Maybe never pay your income taxes.
Teach children.
Teach your children, just don't
never pay taxes.
pay income taxes.
Even though I'm assuming it's the same in the U.S. where it just automatically gets taken out of your pay.
Well, yeah, for sure. But I mean, so you could not ever file income taxes if you never owe.
Yeah,
they would never chase you.
I think your cousin is doing that.
Yeah,
and they've never gone after him. He was saying, and we were all saying, yeah, that's because they owe you money.
They owe you money, exactly.
You probably owed a lot of money over however many years you haven't filed.
How
because
silly.
you were paying taxes on.
If you owe them money, they're coming after you for sure. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
The people that have to do that aren't the ones I'm talking about. I'm talking about the super rich that get paid in stock options, then borrow against those, while the rest of it is making more than the debt that they took. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like commie talk. just because someone has more than you, they owe more to society. They owe the same. In fact, they do owe more because as soon as they have to sell that for income, like that stock is nothing. It's fake funny money.
Yeah.
The second you make it real, you have to pay taxes on it. And if it's a lot, these high net worth people, it's a lot in taxes.
But in support of his comment, some of those stocks you never have to make real. You never have to sell. Like, why would you ever sell? I mean, a blue chip stock. If you bought Apple back in, whatever, in the early 2000s, why would you ever sell it? I wouldn't sell it. I'd just hold it forever.
Well, but if that's all you had, then okay, you would have $100 million worth of Apple stock and nothing.
Yeah, but if you're borrowing against it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if it's going to go up forever, in theory, if you look 100 years down the line, it's only ever going to go up. Yeah, in theory, you can kick that can down the road for a long time.
Joe says, I hate to break it to you, all money's fake money.
I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
it is. You're 100%, man.
Pretty much ever since we're off the gold standard, right?
That's right. Doesn't mean anything. We're all playing Monopoly right now.
But the thing about some of this stuff are these ideas around this is just like looking at some of the people that have a lot and saying, I want to take that because I don't think you should have that, or and then it's just commie talk. And the reality is a lot of these things regular people can use just the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the scale is different. You own stock. You don't own enough stock to take a loan out against it to buy a rental property.
Mm-hmm.
But you could take out a loan against it to, I don't know, buy a car or go out to dinner or something like that.
Right.
There's things like that.
Yeah, it's as far as that goes, it's like if our taxes weren't so high,
and alternatively too, you talk about owning Apple for a period of time. You don't necessarily have to sell.
Mm-hmm.
I think Apple pays a dividend. You are so even if you have enough of the stock that the dividend makes you comfortable, you have to pay taxes on dividends.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, because it's earned income. Yeah,
as soon as you make it real.
Yeah, well, if you redistribute it, then you don't. Like if you just reinvest it back, you don't have to. But the minute you take it out, you do.
Unless when you make a sale to
unless it's if it's in a non-registered, then
what are you talking about specifically? Selling a stock or
the reinvested dividends. So like if
but that's a deferred.
Because you're not taking
as investment income. So it's the same as if you sell a house and you take that money from selling the house, and I think you have 6 months or something. You could buy another house with it, and you're kicking that can down the road before you have to pay taxes. Well,
you do. Oh, what's up, Birdie? You do still have to pay capital gains on it, but
you have to, but you can defer it.
Yeah,
by reinvesting it.
Yeah.
You're kicking the can down the road. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. What people should be concerned with is systematic perpetual debt as a result of large government and the currency debasement.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem for sure.
Now, if see, that's a conspiracy theory. Is the idea that maybe they want to completely devalue the dollar?
Yeah.
And it gets to a point where most people, like Gen Z, is completely
left holding the bag.
No, they're not holding any bag.
No, what I mean is so the way
Gen Z has no way to get ahead, so they're completely doomed to the whole thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're left holding essentially the worthlessness of it. So what I've said before is that they're
no, but the idea is it gets to a point where enough of the population is in that point where they're like, what's the point? And then they devalue the currency.
Mm-hmm.
And the only people that are hurt is now the minority of all the people who already have assets.
Yeah, yeah. So the people that know that this is happening, they're
'Cause it doesn't really
it's almost
change
like
much
they're
for-
pumping dumping. Like
Yeah.
they're like, oh hey, we're gonna pump this up. We're gonna get. That's why they're switching over from shit over into hard assets like real estate and things like that. So then when the currency does devalue, when the fiat currency does devalue to nothing, doesn't matter. They don't care. They're not holding a shit ton of it.
Yeah.
They'll lose a little bit because everybody has some cash, but most of everything they have is in something else, right? In some kind of actual asset. A lot of people are buying gold and silver and platinum, and
yeah, now more than ever.
Right. So
property, you could buy fractional shares of property now.
That's crazy. All right, let me. Speaking of that, let's get into the last segment here. This one's funny to me. I gotta find it first. What was this one on? This one was on BBC, I think. I lost all my tabs. If you're watching and wondering, there it is, right there. Okay. Bloop, bloop. Over. So Bill Gates has decided he's going to give all of his money to the Africans. It's kind of nice. I'm going to read this article. This is BBC. So before I give you any more of it, Bill Gates to give most of his $200 billion fortune to Africa. I think most of. Microsoft founder Bill Gates says that most of his fortune will be spent on improving health and education services in Africa over the next 20 years. The 69-year-old said that by unleashing human potential through health and education, every country in Africa could be on a path to prosperity. Sure. Speaking in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, I don't know, whatever. He also urged Africa's young innovators to think about how to build artificial intelligence to improve healthcare on the continent. Gates announced last month that he would give away 99% of his vast fortune, which he expects to reach $200 billion by 2045, by when his foundation planned to end its operations. I recently made a commitment that my wealth will be given away over the next 20 years. The majority of that funding will be spent on helping you address challenges here in Africa, he said at a UN address. Mozambique's former First Lady welcomed his announcement, saying it came in a moment of crisis. The U.S. government has cut aid to Africa, including programs to treat patients with HIV/AIDS as part of the U.S. President Donald Trump's America First policy, raising concerns about the future of healthcare on the continent. I love this. They
started the AIDS in Africa.
Yeah. I love that dog shit little 3-liner right there. The U.S. government has cut aid to Africa. Yeah. Okay. They put that in there to just to spice it up and keep it very bullshit left.
No, even if it's like a completely true statement, why is Africa entitled to the United States aid? The United States is unbelievably in debt.
Yeah.
They have problems coming out their ass.
It's one of those funny things where, like, if somebody's helping you all the time, like if I'm helping you all the time and then I'm down and you might have some ability to help me, maybe it's time for you to pony it up a little bit on my end. Maybe we should get we need African aid. They need to send some food over to us and stuff. Yeah, actually, we probably could use it apparently for there's people that are in the what do you call it? Food bank lines. Anyways, yeah, I don't care about reading any more of this. The point is, apparently he's going to give his money away. I don't know about that. He's said it before. He has said this before. I've heard him state that once.
It was never his plan to leave it to his children or whatever.
No, he never cared about that. It was always going to be the foundation and whatever. And now that Melinda is no longer part of that, and and he's got looming issues with Epstein coming up.
It's probably just going to whoever is in charge of that.
Yeah.
Like it's vaguely going to Africa. Who's going to check on how this?
They're like, hey, listen. Oh, so who's coming after me? Take a private plane to Africa, and then I'm going to send you a check in Africa. So technically, it went to Africa. Might have your name on it, but whatever. Yeah. So, anyways, maybe this is all just a little scheme to get his get the heat off of him. I don't know if anything's gonna happen with that
I think
list
it's just
anyway.
about laundering his wealth to somebody that he owes for letting him, for giving him kids.
Access to kids.
It's,
Welcome back, Tyler. Oh, the channel's gonna get nuked.
it's already nuked.
It's gonna get very nuked.
That's what Eric Weinstein said when he met Epstein, and he talked about the whole thing that Epstein's wealth correlates pretty much 1-to-1 with the missing fortune of a certain billionaire.
Hmm.
Yeah. Who is close to Epstein.
Yeah.
Or was, I guess. I don't even know if the guy's still alive that he was talking about, but
Listen,
there was a missing fortune that is about what Epstein had.
I think that maybe we just don't know how good kids are. Like,
you haven't tried it, so
I'm just saying, like, these guys are willing to do some things.
they know something.
But they're willing to do things. It's that xenochrome. What's that? Xenochrome or xeno? What's that? What's that called? That they were supposed to be adrenochrome that they're supposed to be taken from the blood. But anyways, what are you guys saying here? Don't worry, channel will come to the rescue. We are aft. That sent shivers down my spine, Robert. Don't need AIDS, medicine, want cash. Yeah, well, hey, it's going to you, buddy. That's what I was saying. Zamibia is going to get some, I'm sure. So just be ready. Just be ready with your hand up.
Powerful people in whatever, however you say that name.
Zamibia?
I won't even try.
Yeah, that's where Robert's from, by the way. So it's about what? It's like 1:30 in the morning there where you are, Robert. So when he's with us, he's he's sacrificing. So
if we do a 1 a.m. stream, he can catch us in the morning.
Yeah, he can catch us before work or something.
Having his coffee. Oh, what are these guys doing?
We'll just be drunk. If we stream that late, we're drunk.
Yeah, 100% of the time.
There'll be some pool streaming this year for sure.
Hopefully pre-drunk.
Well, we'll try.
We'll try.
We'll do our best.
At the very least, pre-dark.
It depends when we start, though. Honestly, what if we start real early? We start drinking real early, and then
Just
it's
go
like
live at 11 o'clock on Saturday.
I'm in for it. Yeah. So the whole idea, we've been talking actually, and you guys know I've talked to you guys over the last little while and talked about how I I do the podcast. I've just been keeping this afloat. I'm kind of phoning it in a little bit, but I like talking to you guys, and so I do it. And there's certain things I'm interested in talking about, certain news articles and such. But realistically, I'm kind of just phoning it in. So, but Tyler and I were talking about we're gonna try and revamp it a little bit, revamp the podcast. We'll instead of being heavily on news and that kind of shit, we're gonna get back a little bit more to the esoterical stuff that we used to talk about before, and then talk about we'll do reactions to different things like
even less than that. I think that the general model should be. I mean, any topic can lead anywhere. But
your head looks huge, by the way.
Yeah, well, it's pretty
because you're leaned right into the camera.
The idea is to just engage in these cultural conversations that are happening.
Yeah.
Less about like the news. Here's what happened today. Here's what happened yesterday. Now some news stories are so big that it's worth talking about. But there's a whole conversation going on around a whole bunch of topics like dating and like the general dynamic between men and women. You see people blowing up like Homath who are like just exclusively talking about that. The economy is obviously a massive topic, not just like from a political perspective. Like, people are talking about the economy. Like, what do you do, right? Like, people are struggling. Just stuff like that. That's in the cultural sphere.
The zeitgeist.
That's in the cultural sphere that people are talking about and just kind of reacting to certain takes on those things and contributing to that conversation.
Yep. What's your honest opinion on the juice?
Jews.
On the Jew on the juice. That's a funny way to say it. We're talking about O.J. Simpson. Yeah, he did it. Yeah, no, he did. The juice did
Just
it. What's my honest opinion on the juice would be, I've said this before. Look, if you had a neighbor beside you, let's just use your house. You got a neighbor beside you, and that guy is firing shit over your fence. He's like, he's throwing rocks at your window. Sometimes he breaks a window.
that's a very
Yeah.
specific point. People have broader opinions on the Jews than just one specific conflict.
But hold on, I'm just saying. No, I'm making my point. Let me make a point. So you have this going on for a long time, right? And you have the ability. You're very wealthy. You have the ability to you could just level their house if you wanted. I mean, sure, you get in trouble, but you could do it. You have the ability. What stops you? Other than legal ramifications. So the fact that they don't go and level the house with all this shit going on, I think is pretty cool. I mean, I don't think the only deterrent they have is some kind of diplomatic intervention or global intervention or whatever, right? I think they don't do it because they feel like they have a need. With great power comes great, restraint, I guess. So that's why they have this Iron Dome. So I think that it's, from my point of view, I think they have to take care of the threat, one way or the other. You can't have somebody doing that constantly on your border. Nobody would tolerate it. So I don't care, right or wrong, nobody would tolerate it. So I just think that I think it has to. The hammies have to. There has to be an end to the hammies. Let's use words that tricks the algorithm. Juice and hammy. Yeah, that's my point of view. But I do feel sorry for the civilians on the other side, on the other side of the fence. But I mean, you've got to rise up. It should be a massive civil war going on there. On the hammy side, there should be a massive civil war with the Plutonians and and the hammies, the Plutonians and the hammies. So that's what I think. No 6-side star, not drink. 109 countries for no reason. With everything in the world that's happening, do you think we will get another Addy? And will they be worse? Another Addy? What are you talking about?
That one, I don't know.
I don't know. What are you referring to there? Another Addy. Oh, I get it. Heil. I don't know. Do you think there'd be a rise of another Heil?
Well,
that's what I'm guessing you're saying. If I'm wrong, correct me. But
it's hard. I don't know how much I buy of the story.
Like from World War II, you mean?
Of what happened exactly.
Oh, we got a denier over here.
So I don't know.
Well, I'm not a denier of that. I think that happened for sure. But I also think that I'm not I'm not making excuses for Addy, but Germany was put in a really, really rough situation after World War One. So you can't put people in that kind of situation and not expect that they're going to react. It's kind of the same almost in a way if you look at it. If you're the same type of person that says that the Plutonians are in a open air prison, then you would say the same. Like you can't put people through that and not expect that they're going to fight back.
Does it not paint a different picture if what happened is more in line with Germany being put in a tough spot? They don't like the Jews because they viewed them, they're controlling the banks and they were like controlling porn and stuff like that Hitler thought was degenerate. And whatever. They offloaded all this stuff on this group of people, and so like okay, and so apparently this happened. I didn't know this until recently, but apparently they had every opportunity to take their stuff and leave, right? So it wasn't just like I want to kill you all. It's get out, please. And then okay, then you get into a conflict because you're really in a tough spot. Your currency's worthless. You got to do something. What else are you gonna do? So you just start building up a military industrial complex and invade, and then you find out you're really good at it, so you keep going. But then due to the war effort, right? So what do? You don't trust this group of people, so you kind of move them to certain areas of the towns. But resources are dwindling, and because of that, they're in these areas. There's not really any work for them, so poverty's really bad. They're dirty places. So now you take them. Okay, well, what do we do with them? Well, at the very least, we can get labor out of them. So we'll put them in camps where they can work, and then we can kind of do our best to keep everybody fed. And then there's just not enough food to support the war effort, and also all these people that they have in these prisons. And so you have to do something about that. And it's less of a homicidal rampage and more of a series of circumstances that get kind of slowly get worse and worse, and you make a couple of the wrong choices along the way, and then you find yourself with a pile of bodies.
Well, I'll say
Right?
this.
So it makes, in my opinion, it makes the perspective different,
Sure. Like,
and it's not as black and white as they want you to think.
no, I agree. But I will say this. It's a lot easier um, to destroy an evil, an evil, whatever, evil army, an evil people than it is to,
You need that, right? You need that good
so
versus evil.
it's very easy to demonize them, right? So like, look
It
what
may
they
be even necessary.
like. You dropped 2 nukes on Japan, because
He agrees with me.
because they were completely the devil. You know what I mean? Like we had to do that. We had to drop 2 nukes on them.
Yeah,
And then you send scientists right away to study what was
Yeah.
happening. Yeah, that seems legit. That's what you do.
Well, they might have had to, but see, the thing that people say is that like Japan was never going to surrender.
Yeah.
Right? They were going to keep fighting till the bitter end, and that's just worse than what they did. And then other people say that they were actually kind of getting ready to surrender.
That's good. That's a good point. History's written
That's
by the
kind
winners.
of what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Like, so how much of it is true? So, like, I think any time in history where you have a story where it's like this side or this guy is pure Satan incarnate, pure evil.
Yeah.
I think it's almost always there's a lot to that story that we're not being told. There's a lot of nuance that definitely. Well, sure, these people might not. It's not that they're all good people doing good things.
Mm-hmm.
Or for all the right reasons, but it's a lot more nuanced than the black and white, good and evil. This is the good side, this is the bad side, and it's good for narratives if you present things that way.
Sure.
This is the good guys, these are the bad guys.
Yeah, and then like I said, it gives you carte blanche to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Oh, so I want to hang these people in the street. Well, I can because they're evil.
Yeah.
We do it now. Like we do it now. We just can't get away with it. Like people can't get away with it the same now because information is way too plentiful, and like you can't get away. Yeah. Well, that's the problem. It's the last dying breaths of the propaganda machine. They can't do it anymore the same way they could because now there's so many different outlets. Even like a small little podcast like ours that we can say things, when people can listen and say, "Oh shit, that's a different perspective altogether." But when you had 5 different media outlets telling you the story, and they all were in lockstep.
I said this the other day. I think that people had a better idea of what was going on, at least locally, before the printing press.
Yeah,
because people would just see things, they'd say things, people would talk. There wasn't really a centralized authority. Now, if the guy from the Capitol came with news about something, you have no way of validating what he's saying. So by that, there might be false information being conveyed to people from like leadership, but once you have the printing press, now you can control what's in, what headlines are in everybody's hands in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
What narratives, what perspective is everybody going to read?
Oh, did
Right?
you read? Did you
How do
read
we
the
frame
newspaper
this?
today?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And then the internet, and it only got worse up until the internet, up until like 2010, really, because even so, the 90s to 2000s, there's only so many. There's more and more TV channels into the 90s and 2000s, but um, it's still very controlled. Only maybe a couple big ones, and then once you get to a point where it's like YouTube and stuff, and now anybody can say anything, you kind of get this resurgence of now everybody everybody can see the thing happen. Somebody's live streaming the thing happening. Like, you can't so much lie about it just because it's on the other side of the country, because now everybody knows about it, or people have recorded it, or people who witnessed it can now go online and tell everybody in the world what they saw and what their perspective of those events are. It becomes a lot harder to lie about things.
Yeah. Joe just said, and the printing press now moved into our pockets.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's true. I mean, but
less so because now you have access to everybody, and
yeah,
they're trying to tighten that now.
yeah.
That's why you can't. That's why you can't
See,
find.
that's
those
what's
fringe
going on.
places anymore.
That's what's happening right now. We're in this massive, like, complete juxtaposition where they're just like the legacy media is like, oh shit, we don't know how exactly to recapture our audience, like the mass, the the most of everyone. But they're like, okay, so what we can do now is maybe throw enough shit against the wall
Something's gonna stick.
that some will stick.
CNN tried that, CNN Plus or whatever.
Yeah,
a couple years ago. That
yeah,
was hilarious.
and then I mean, if there's so the problem now is like there's so much information. Is what do you believe? What source do you believe? So if you can get anything that would make a source that you trust less trustworthy, well, now you can't really trust that source. Then you find a new source and they're saying something else, and you're like, okay, shit. So you hear all this information from all these different sides and stuff, and we're not really humans in general aren't really made to do that. We're tribalistic, right? So we will follow like a strong leader. Most of us, even the leaders will follow a leader. Take turns kind of jockeying the leadership. But now it's just there's just so much information out there, and who do you trust? And so it's I think they're playing into that. I think they're playing into the idea that they're like, okay, well, if they're not going to trust us, we're going to make them not trust anybody, and then they won't know what the hell to think.
AI is going to play a huge role in that.
Yeah,
man, some of these AI videos, they look real.
Yeah, see, Joe's saying I don't think humans were meant to absorb the amount of information in such a short period of time.
Definitely not.
Of course not. No, we've.
I think Tim Pool talks about this all the time. He says there was a time. Well, actually, not there was a time. For most of human history, a human being was capable of knowing the entire extent of all human knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? And that very quickly, sure, that wasn't the case thousands, even tens of thousands of years ago, probably, but at a certain point that was the case, and now it's like, fuck, good luck scratching the surface.
Yeah. Watch how low you're putting that. Yeah, but you think about it this way too. There aren't artisans anymore. There aren't specialists really. There aren't people that are just absolute masters of anything anymore because we're bogged down by information. So much information is. If you were able to unplug yourself from all the information and focus on, say, one thing, you could become a master at something. But
it kind of gets us into this is kind of in the vein of what we'll be trying to talk about more of these kinds of topics is, so who was saying it? It was, I think, Elijah Schaefer on Timcast on last Thursday night or something like that. He was saying how they got into it a little bit. They were arguing a little bit over, why Gen Z is so, why there's so many people who aren't even trying. And he basically said, he's like, I think it was his grandfather, not his father, but I think he said my grandfather was an engineer at Boeing. I think Boeing, one of these companies like that. no college degree or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just an engineer at Boeing, did his career and retired very, very comfortably.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like that doesn't exist.
Yeah. No.
Right? But that was just a thing before, especially since like I bet you people realize like so this guy was able to walk in there and be like, I want to work on airplanes or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you know about airplanes? Nothing, but or like a little bit, but I want to learn how they work. And they're like, all right, come in next week. They get him fucking showing him stuff. Like, all right, well, this guy's learning. Like, so we're gonna keep him around. And then he has a whole career out of that. That doesn't happen.
I worked
you
at
can't do that anymore.
Well, I worked at a place. It was funny. I worked at a place back when I was like my late teens, early 20s, and there was a guy there that was just like an idiot savant when it came to like just working on machines and such, right? So whenever like any of the machines that we use, like it was all like cardboard and stuff like that, like cardboard manufacturing place essentially, cardboard and like derivatives and shit. If a machine went down, they didn't call somebody; they just sent him.
Mm-hmm.
They just sent him in. They go fix it. He could fix any of the machines. He had no technical knowledge. But he just knew how to fix shit.
Because you could learn it.
Yeah.
You don't need to go to college to learn how to fix this very specific machine.
Right.
You just got to work with that very specific machine for a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you have the aptitude for it, you'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. Like especially if you have if you have the aptitude for it and you have somebody who does know how it works, who's going to show you.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah. Look at Joe says that pod or that Timcast made him look at Tim differently. I didn't watch it, so I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, it's I don't know. It's a brave new world, I guess. Let's say.
And 1984 and what is it, Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
9/11 or something like
that.
It's like the three different dystopians all at once.
Yeah. I just think
soon Terminator too.
Yeah, I think you're right about AI. I think the new iterations, as it gets better and better, and the fact that
what's crazy is the time scale.
Well, what's scarier to me about it is it's basically being programmed wrong. Like it's learning shit it shouldn't learn. It's like it's learning how to lie very easily. It's learning how to give false information. It's learning how to be what do you call it?
It's almost showing signs that there's a kind of consciousness there.
Yeah.
Which is
but a woke one.
Interesting.
A slightly woke one.
It depends on the one that you look at.
Yeah.
Right? Like Google.
V for Vendetta.
Google is very they're very pushy, right? It was the Google one that was make me a British soldier in the year 1600 and it was a black guy.
Yeah.
Right, or something like that, because it was just so hard coded the woke stuff into it. ChatGPT is better.
Wasn't Tim Pool saying that Grok is getting pretty bad too now?
Grok, not in a woke sense, just Grok
just
has
wrong
its issues. With like I guess it's making stuff up, but I don't know if that's the actual one or not, because if you go, there's two different versions that I think are doing different resources. Like when you go into the X app, you see there's a Grok button where you can go and do Grok, but then there's a whole app for it. So
when they connected AI to the internet, the first thing it did was to try to make money.
Yeah,
that's kind of funny. Well, what else would it do? It's trying to be a .com millionaire.
Well, what do you need to do anything in the world? You need money. So it's
true.
Like, what else would it possibly do?
Did you ever hear there was a guy that got caught a bunch of years back for I think I've talked about this on the podcast, where he got caught. I think he worked for CIBC or something, one of the Canadian banks up here, one of our main Canadian banks. He got caught taking a penny out of people's accounts for a lot of accounts.
He went overboard. That's
and
why
then he went up to 5 cents, and somebody noticed and they complained, and it triggered an investigation. But
he got like millions out.
Yeah.
But then because he kept pushing it.
Yeah.
Like, man, it's those people that like fuck. Like if I had, if I was less of a moral person, and found my way into that situation, I would never do that. Like I mean, I would take a penny out, but I would never push it. I'd be like, I got my
this is
3 million
working
mark. Now I'm done. Like
it's the plot of Hackers. I worked at H&R Block when I was a kid too, when I was like in my teens or whatever, late teens, and so we used to cut the checks. So when you go to HR and Block, what they do is they give you the cash back they give you right away, or your return they give you right away. That's based on their notice, or based on their assumption of what your return should be, right? Based on everything you provided and whatnot. But what happens is the government kicks back a notice of assessment. I don't know if it's called in the States, if it's the same thing or not, but basically what they do is they audit it. And then if there's money owed, they kick it back to HR Block, and HR Block has to recover it. So the person that would cut these checks, because you get a check right away, right? It'd be within a couple hours or whatever. The person who did that, I worked at the central office. The guy before me was actually cutting checks to like fraudulent checks. He had a whole bunch, to the tune of like $250,000 or something before they caught him. And they only caught him actually because he got greedy. Again, yeah. I think he duplicated like 3 or 4 different ones or something like that. And then they caught him because of the duplication. But like, that's what it's always that. It's always that. Somebody's doing a scam.
There's so many of those.
Somebody's doing something and they're getting away with it for quite a bit of time. And then they get greedy.
I remember even not even a scam. I remember there was like a podcast with this guy who was a jewel thief. They went, it was before like the internet and stuff, and like cameras really being everywhere, and they drove around and they'd go to jewelry stores and they'd rob them, and kept getting away with it to the tune of millions of dollars. But it was that because you keep going back.
Yeah.
Every time you go back, there's a higher chance, and eventually got sloppy, and something about the gun got thrown in the water, and they were or they fired off a shot or something, so that gives extra notoriety, and then they threw it in the lake, and then it was recovered, and they got the fingerprints or whatever, and they got caught because they could have stopped, had plenty of money, got greedy, kept going, kept doing it. It's like,
there was if you watch what's the movie, it's Keanu Reeves movie, Point Break, back in the day.
Matrix.
What's that?
The Matrix.
It's pre-Matrix, and he's an FBI agent who's like undercover, and he's trying to infiltrate this gang of robbers. The gang of robbers, what they would do is they would never hit the vault. They would only get the cash drawers. So they would do that because it took a certain amount of time. They could get in and out very quickly, and because it was fairly small, they weren't really like drawing too much attention or anything like that, and nobody was getting hurt and such. But then they got carried away. They went after the vault, and somebody got shot and all this kind of stuff. And of course, then it's a big deal now. It goes from robbery to murder or whatever, right? But that's happened in real life. There's been these guys that have done the same sort of thing, and they get away with They get away with the robbery when it's like a small sort of thing. They're just going after the cash drawers. Maybe they get away with whatever, $5, $6, $10,000 or something max. Yeah. And they get away with it, but then they get greedy. They're like, oh shit, I'm getting away with this. They get away with it 5 times or whatever. And they're like, oh, I'm untouchable. It's a fucking weird thing that humans do like that. Okay, Robert, see you, buddy. Thanks for being with us. We're at the 59-minute mark. We're gonna cut it short now anyway. Well, not short, but we're gonna cut it now. What are you saying there, Joe? It's the bigger and better mentality and not being happy with what you have. That's what greed gets you. Exactly. That's 100% what it is. It's like, it's weird though, because if you were less greedy in those situations, you could enrich yourself and then stop. Yeah. And legitimize it essentially. But that's not in human nature. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. If you aren't yet a subscriber, do hit the subscribe. That's the best way to support the channel. If you like the channel, Tyler's back, so we're going to have more discussions like this. We're going to talk more, about esoterical stuff, about like topical stuff, about culturally relevant stuff. We just get into tirades of conversations. We'll start somewhere and it kind of leads us somewhere else. But if you like that, jump on in and get in the chat. We will we read the chats and we engage. Ask Joe, ask Robert, ask Art, ask anybody who jumps in the chat. There's like 7 of them, so not a lot of people to ask, but yeah. So jump in the chat, talk to us. Again, like I said, look for I'll do a couple clips of what we talked about earlier in the podcast and drop them out on during the week between Tuesday and Sunday. 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Like, comment, share, all that kind of stuff. Help a small channel by engaging. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for being with us, Joe. Thanks, Robert. Anybody else who was in and out on the viewers. Thanks, Tyler, for being back and chatting it up. And I'm being quiet. I'll fix the camera next week so your head doesn't look like a mutant. Like I was either he either looks like a mutant or I look like a tiny little person. Shut up. He wanted to say something. Shut up. Be nice. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you. Oh, whoops.